So you're back with me again. Well done, you've got through your decorating techniques and you've decorated your item and got a finished, however small or large, a finished item that needs to be dried. Drying is, look on the back of the label on your glue for any specific times. Generally with Mod Podge it's a touch dry in an hour and takes 72 hours to cure. So you can put your second coat on after an hour if you want to do a second coat. What I would normally do with a lid is find a jar that's got a slightly smaller diameter and pop my lid on, just rest it on top like that when it's got a gap around the edges, and then that can dry off in a single go, so you can do the whole lid in one go and let it dry on its own. I wouldn't put it back on its own jam jar because it'll stick to the rim. Sometimes you get an item, if you wanted to decorate the handle on this, it's not an easy thing to put down so that the whole handle is not in contact with something. And if it's in contact with something, it can stick to the surface you're resting it on. So I'd actually decorate this in two phases. I would decorate the top half and leave it to dry, and then I would bring it back, turn it over, and I would decorate the top half again while the bottom's already done, and then leave it that way up to dry off a second time. What you can do to make it a little bit easier, if you don't just want to do 20 minutes of decorating to do that little bit, is line up a series of items in almost a workflow. So you know you've got this one to do, so you do half of this one and you put this one aside, put that one down, let that dry off, and then you can start on your lids. So you can set yourself up a nice little workflow. Your lids, you can do the whole thing, and then you can go on to a third item and a fourth item if you've got time. So you don't just have to do 15 minutes of one item and then put it aside, wait an hour and then do the other side. You can do a whole, by the time you finish 2 or 3 items, you can go back to your first one and start all over again. So once they're dry, what you have to do is put a top coat on, which is like your finishing coat. Normally what I do is, if I've been using the gloss version all the way through, I will tend to put a whole coat of gloss, and all you do is just anywhere where the paper is, just put on a thin coat of the glue and put that aside again, pop it on its little jar, pop it aside to dry off, and if necessary after an hour come back and do your second coat. If you're using, you can put different finishes on at this point. You can put glitter on, the glitter glue that they do, you can grab one of those, put a couple of coats of that on, that would be fine. If you want to finish it so that it's really sort of durable, they do a hard coat or a furniture coat. I'd definitely put 2 coats on if you want it extra durable, because that'd be better and it'll give you a more long-lasting effect. And the other thing is, if you've got dishwasher, if you've been using dishwasher Mod Podge, which is this one, this is for glasses and things like that, and things and items and plates and dishes that are going to go in the dishwasher to be cleaned. Bear in mind my original warning about food safe items, because to my knowledge even this one isn't food safe, so try to keep them off the surface of plates. You could do it around the outside or up the sides of bowls, but not on the inside. If you're doing a project with dishwasher glue, I would use this from start to finish of the project, not just as a top coat, just to give you that extra security that it's not going to come off in the wash. Something like the glitter is just a top coat thing really, so you can just put a glitter effect on the top unless you want it all the way underneath. But particularly with this one, probably with outdoor and furniture as well, use them all the way through the project, not just as a finishing coat. It's going to give you a lot better results doing it that way. So you just get your brush and lightly cover your item, or cover one side of your item at a time and then let it dry and do the other side. Give it a coat. If you can use a soft brush this time, if you've got a very soft brush, that will help reduce the brush strokes in the glue. But you can't see them that much anyway, and I just use my normal glue brush rather than having a spare one. Little coat all over the top, not too thick. Try to get the lumps out when you do it, and you're good to go really. Leave it to dry, follow the instructions, and you've got yourself a decorated project that you did yourself in the colours that you wanted, you designed it, You cut everything out that you wanted, and it's your project. Well done. Well, it's been a lovely journey, but now we've got to the last section in the course. What we're going to look at now are some advanced tips so that you can carry on doing your Decopatch and taking it to all sorts of different places and exercising your creativity to do whatever you want on your items. So what can you do? Well, the first choice that you've got are the different glues. So this obviously is dishwasher. I've been sort of waving the gloss around in the air. They do a matte version of this as well. This is dishwasher and does items that are going to go in the dishwasher. This one, very glue around the top, is outdoor and is for outdoor things that you want to leave outside. Now if you read the label, and I do recommend reading the label on each of these glues because they've all got different properties and different things that you need to do. If you read the label, this one does say that if you use it, you still need to put an additional sealant on the outside. I thought it might be enough on its own, but it isn't. They do say put an extra sealant because it's wet out there at times. So this one as well is a good one for Find Me Pot. Your terracotta pots. Now I mentioned terracotta pots earlier. They are a special case. You need to do something a little bit different with a terracotta pot. The reason you need to do it different is because the ceramic is porous. A normal ceramic pot would be glazed inside and out and the water would not pass through the walls of the pot, but with terracotta it is porous, and if you put a plant directly into here and water it, the water will soak into the pot and it will lift your decoration from the inside out, basically, because it will wet the inside and make it look horrible, and it will waste all your hard work. So what you have to do with your terracotta pots is use outdoor, or actually I would use outdoor and a sealant personally. You can use something like yacht varnish or external varnish, because they do tend to, I wouldn't use those on the outside particularly, because they brown. You have to be very careful with outside varnishes. They tend to produce like a sepia effect almost on your item, and they're not water based either, they're oil based, so be careful with your brushes on that and cleaning. But definitely on the inside you can use a spray sealant that's for outdoor, or you can use a varnish to keep the water in, especially if you're using the pot indoors but watering it into there. That'll be fine, because the brown against the terracotta you won't see, the sepia effect will just be lost, whereas if you put it on the outside where you've got something pale, it'll definitely brown it and make it look older. Maybe that's what you want. So, terracotta pots, coat the inside, decorate the outside, make sure they're watertight on the inside, lovely decoration on the outside. That deals with that. Other thing you can do, just rearranging all the bits and pieces, is embellishments, which is great. So you can put bows on, you can put lace on the outside of your pots. So you've got loads of options for putting extra bits of lace round on the outside. Really nice on the tops of jars. Where's my jar? Really nice on the tops of jars to put some lace around the top if you're not going to have the lid on, because it kind of finishes it off and disguises the thread and the top bits like that. You just put it on with the glue. You can soak the glue into the material as well, which is quite good because that'll hold it in place, and then just put it onto the item that you want to let it dry like you normally would. You can use ribbon as well, or lots of different sorts of ribbons to make patterns or designs or whatever you want to do. Obviously you can buy little embellishments that you can stick on. So if you're doing flowers and you want to do the centre of bits of flowers with special glittery bits, or if you want to put a glittery design over the top of your Decopatch, just watch curved surfaces because they're sticking these on, but it can be done. So that's not a problem either. So there's lots and lots of scope for different embellishments that you can put onto the outside. And one of the final things you can do, you may have noticed me hanging this one around, handing it around a lot. Rather than using Decopatch papers, there's one other option that is possible when you get the technique down to really, really good, and that is to use napkins. Now, if you use napkins, this is the same napkin obviously that I did the design on the pot with. Napkins come in some fantastic designs, Christmases, and all sorts. Something like this is lovely for Decopatch. You just rip it into the mosaic and produce whatever pattern you want. If you use napkins, you will need to take off the other layers. If you don't take off the other layers, then the bottom layers will stick and the top layer tends to peel off, and you get bubbles as well, which is not very good. So you will have to very carefully, in fact everything you do with napkins is carefully, you'll need to, these 3-ply, you need to take the 2 backing papers off to leave the printed paper on top available to go onto your item. It can be done, and it's not the easiest thing in the world, but it is one of the most gratifying when you get it done. So you need to peel the 2 backing layers, or 1 backing layer, depends on how many they've got, get the printed layer and use that as your paper. When you put the glue on, use the glue very, very sparingly, because as soon as this top layer of napkin gets wet, it will rip so easily. Be very gentle with the brush, because the brush will actually, putting the glue on, will actually rip the napkin on occasions. Sometimes it's okay and you can cover it over again, but sometimes it isn't, and you can wreck an item that way. Everything you do with a napkin, do it gently. Don't use too much glue, because getting it too wet is, just even getting it wet, it will rip. Even when it's dry, it will rip. But it is very satisfying because you get loads of other designs, and you can just pick them up in the supermarket for small prices. Plus they coordinate. If you've got matching napkins with items on your table for Christmas, then that's really nice too. Plus you can also get some other designs. I got these in a National Trust shop, I think. A lovely lady designs owls to go on napkins. This one's already had one taken out, as you can see, because I love this design so much. So you take off the top layer that's got the owl on here, or one of these, and then you can just put that straight on to the side of your item, very, very, very carefully. I did one of these, I think it was this one, I did on its own. I found a large stone and I painted it with emulsion, gave it a couple of coats, and then I took the top layer of this design off and just laid it on the stone and very gently put the glue on. But you can get some fantastic designs in napkins for all sorts of occasions and stuff, so have a look in your supermarket next time you're wandering through, or wherever you want to go. Furniture is another one that you can do. When you're doing furniture, you have the possibility, if you've got a very large expanse of flat, like a coffee table, and I'll put a photo up in a bit about the coffee table. If you've got a large flat expanse of wood or surface, you can use wallpaper and just Mod Podge the wallpaper on. Exactly the same technique, just Mod Podge the wallpaper on, let it dry, coat over the top, no problem. The only difference is you're just using a heavier wallpaper. Little tip on that is that if you go into the shops where they do the wallpapers, you can get a sample for free. So if you know the size of your coffee table before you go in and it's not too big, you can get a sample and bring it back and see what it looks like on the top of your coffee table and use that, and that doesn't cost you anything. If you really like the wallpaper and you want to do a load of coordinated ones, then you're best off buying a roll so that you get all the same colour on them, like you would like you when you're doing the walls, get them in the same batch number. And that, I think, is it. So next time you're going to throw something out, take a look at your item and think, can you decorate it? Can you upcycle it? Helps the environment no end if we can do things like this. And if you do upcycle it, can you give it away? Can you personalise it for somebody? It's just such a lovely craft to do. You can enjoy doing it in the process, and you can save yourself a few pennies. So go get creative, go get decorating, and I look forward hopefully to seeing some of the photos of things you've made. That would be great. Thank you very much.